Hello, everyone. My name is Susan. Throughout my life, I've faced the challenge of dealing with a difficult mother-in-law. I've never shared much about this because she usually kept her distance from us. Unfortunately, that changed when my husband Samuel decided to have her move in with us. Initially, I was reluctant, but Samuel pleaded with me to let his mother Elizabeth stay. Despite my reservations, I agreed. You see, Samuel was working in Los Angeles, California, while I lived in another state. I prefer not to disclose the location to maintain some privacy. Since Samuel was far away, I found myself sharing a home solely with Elizabeth. Samuel reassured me, saying, "Susan, I know I can't be there right now, but having Mom around is necessary. She's facing financial hardships and needs our support. It's only for a few months. Besides, it'll be nice for you to have company and she'll have a place to stay." However, I was concerned because Elizabeth and I never got along. She often accused me of leeching off Samuel and squandering his earnings. "Samuel, your mom openly dislikes me. She thinks I'm just using you for your money. How do you think this arrangement will work?" I asked. Samuel remained hopeful. "She can change, Susan. Maybe spending more time together will help her see the truth. Perhaps she'll start to appreciate you, and you might grow to like her too." "I want to help her. Please, let's try this. I'll talk to her about being more respectful towards you." Despite Samuel's assurances, the reality was tough. Elizabeth loathed me deeply. I work a modest job from home due to mobility issues with my leg, while Samuel, who has a well-paying job, primarily supports our household financially. Elizabeth resented this arrangement deeply. One day she lashed out, "I can't believe my son married a gold digger. My boy is so wealthy and handsome. How did he end up with a disabled fortune hunter like you?" I stood up for myself. "Elizabeth, that's incredibly rude. You shouldn't speak to me like that. This is my home too, and you can't insult me here." She retorted, "It's my son's house too. Since it's in my son's name, I consider it practically mine. I can say whatever I want." Living with Elizabeth was a daily struggle. From morning to night, I endured her constant derogatory comments about my job and me. It was a trying time in my life living under the same roof with someone who held so much animosity towards me. Elizabeth never appreciated my cooking, but never offered to lend a hand either. She expected me to handle all the chores, including washing the dishes and cleaning, despite her contributing the most to the mess. Whenever I expressed my frustration, she would promptly call Samuel and paint a picture of distress, leading him to advise me to compromise and bear with her behavior. I reluctantly agreed, primarily because she was Samuel's mother. Elizabeth had recently fallen on hard times and moved in with us until she could stabilize her finances. While she wasn't exactly broke, her savings weren't enough to maintain her extravagant lifestyle. As a result, she turned to Samuel and me for financial support. Samuel provided her with an allowance and let her live with us rent-free, but he set boundaries when she asked for more money. Elizabeth's demands grew incessant, and when Samuel and I couldn't meet her requests, she began stealing from me. I noticed about $150 missing from my purse weekly. At first I thought I might be misplacing the money, but soon it became clear that Elizabeth was taking it. Confronting her, I said, "Elizabeth, I've noticed money missing from my purse regularly. We don't have visitors and I rarely go out. Have you been taking the money?" Her response was sharp and dismissive. "How dare you accuse me of such a thing? What money of yours are you talking about? You're worthless, and whatever you own belongs to my son. Even if I took it, I deserve it since it's essentially my son's money." I stood my ground. "That's absurd, Elizabeth. I earn my money and what you took belongs to me. You need to return it. I cannot overlook this." "Good luck getting it back from me, Susan. You'll never see that money again. No one will believe you," she scoffed. She was right, in a way. After I confronted her, it became clear that Elizabeth wouldn't admit to or deny her actions. I decided it was time to discuss this with Samuel. However, when I brought it up, he was visibly annoyed. Just because my mom has a past incident of theft doesn't mean she took your money. It was a one-time thing and she hasn't repeated it. But Samuel, it's just me and Elizabeth at home. I'm hardly out and no one else comes by. It has to be her, I explained, hoping he would see reason. The situation left me in a difficult position, trying to handle the delicate balance of family dynamics and personal integrity. Samuel's response was dismissive and sharp. Susan, you can't make accusations without evidence. I know you're not fond of my mom being here, but she has nowhere else to go. Please don't accuse her of theft just because you dislike her. His words stung. Yes, Elizabeth had a history of taking money from a friend, but my suspicions were based on the situation at hand, not her past. However, Samuel was adamant, and he had a point. I needed solid proof if I was going to convince him that Elizabeth was responsible for the missing money. For the next 3 months, I tried every possible way to catch Elizabeth red-handed, but without any success. Then my brother Eric, a police officer, visited. He pulled me aside for a private conversation. Hey, sis, I'm about to go on vacation and I was wondering if you could keep some money safe for me. It's about $70,000 saved up for a down payment on my dream house. I don't want to leave it in my bank because I might be tempted to spend it. Samuel's okay with it, but I needed to ask you too.
I hesitated. Eric, that's not a good idea. I've been having money disappear around the house, and I suspect Elizabeth might be involved, but I don't have any proof yet. Samuel doesn't believe it's her, and I don't want to risk your savings. That's rough, Susan. How much has gone missing so far? About $3,000, I replied, feeling the strain. I'm desperate for a way to catch whoever is taking it. Eric suggested a solution. What about installing security cameras in the house? Since Elizabeth is living with you, she should know about them, but you could just install them in your room to keep it discreet. That's an excellent idea, Eric. That way I can catch her in the act, and it'll also be safer to keep your money here. Perfect. Then it's settled. You don't have to worry about my money, and if Samuel still refuses to take action against Elizabeth, I'll step in. We'll make sure there's justice for you one way or another. Relieved to have a plan and support, I felt a glimmer of hope that we might finally resolve the situation and restore peace in our home. I was hoping Elizabeth wouldn't make any rash decisions. If she decided to run off with Eric's money, I would be furious and Samuel would be devastated. We went ahead with the plan and installed CCTV cameras in my bedroom. Once everything was set up, Eric handed me the money. Samuel, fully aware of what we were doing, quickly agreed to it. He was eager to clear Elizabeth's name, convinced of her innocence. Unfortunately for Samuel, things didn't unfold as he expected. Just 2 days after Eric left the money with me, I noticed it was missing from my safe. I immediately called Eric, who luckily hadn't started his vacation yet. He advised me to review the footage from the security cameras. The video confirmed my worst fears. It was Elizabeth who had taken the money. Watching the footage, my frustration peaked. I finally understood where all my missing money had gone. I was also incredibly upset with Elizabeth for betraying Eric's trust. It was his hard-earned money, and she had just taken it as though it was hers, having somehow cracked the safe's password. Moreover, Elizabeth had been missing from the house since the morning and hadn't returned even by 9 p.m. Wanting to resolve the situation without involving the police for Samuel's sake, I decided to give Elizabeth a chance to return the money voluntarily. I called her, ensuring I recorded the conversation for proof. Elizabeth, where are you? Why did you leave so suddenly without telling anyone? She replied nonchalantly, Well, I'm on my way to a mini vacation. I made last-minute plans yesterday and just took off. I won't be back for a couple of days. You're supposed to be broke, Elizabeth? Where did you get the money for such a vacation? I pressed. Don't speak to me like that.
I'm your mother-in-law and I deserve respect. You don't need to know how or where I got the money. I'm not a child, she retorted. Elizabeth, did you take the money from my closet? I can see that $70,000 is missing from my safe. How dare you accuse me of such a thing? I would never do something like that. You've gone crazy. Stop with the lies, she snapped. I replied firmly, Elizabeth, I know for a fact that you took the money. We have security cameras installed in our bedroom. The call ended abruptly, but I had finally caught her red-handed. Now I needed to decide how to handle the situation delicately but firmly, ensuring justice for Eric while considering Samuel's feelings. As I confronted Elizabeth over the phone, I was firm and direct. I saw you on the security camera taking the money from my closet. You need to come back right now and return it. Elizabeth scoffed. Oh, don't be ridiculous, Susan. You shouldn't be hiding money from me. You don't even need it. I can make much better use of it, just like the money I've been taking from your purse. Elizabeth, that's completely irrational, and it's exactly why you're always out of money. No matter the circumstances, you had no right to steal. You need to come home before we involve the police, I replied, trying to keep my composure. She was defiant. I know my son, Susan. He would never call the cops on me. All your plans to catch me will fail. That's where you're mistaken, Elizabeth. Samuel might not call the police if it were his money, but this money belongs to my brother Eric. And you might recall Eric is a police officer, so he will be pressing charges. You're lying. That money can't be his. Stop trying to scare me, Susan. I'm going back to my party now. You can just stew in your room about your lost money. Bye-bye. Elizabeth hung up, clearly underestimating the situation.
Yes, she often played the old and innocent card, but this time it wouldn't work in her favor. I immediately called Samuel to arrange a serious conversation. He sounded concerned and unaware of the unfolding drama. What's the matter, Susan? Are you okay? Why is Eric here too? You're starting to get me worried. It's something you should be worried about, Samuel. Your mother has stolen the money Eric left with us for safekeeping. Samuel was taken aback. What are you talking about, Susan? I've told you before, you can't just blame my mom for everything. Now you're accusing her of stealing Eric's money? I'm not falsely accusing her of anything, Samuel. Remember the security cameras I installed in our bedroom? They caught Elizabeth red-handed taking the money from my closet. Are you freaking kidding me? Please tell me this is a joke. Mom stole the $70,000 your brother gave us for safekeeping? Yes, Samuel, and she even admitted to previously taking money from me as well. I have the call recordings where she confessed to this. Faced with undeniable evidence and Elizabeth's admission, the situation had escalated beyond simple family disputes, compelling us to address the theft seriously and consider the implications for our family's harmony. After hanging up on Samuel, I promptly sent him all the evidence I had collected. This included the video recordings from the security cameras and the audio of my last conversation with Elizabeth, where she inadvertently confessed to the theft. I was certain that once he saw the proof, he'd understand the extent of his mother's deceit. Samuel didn't respond immediately. For a tense 30 minutes, he left me waiting until finally he called back. He sounded both angry and frustrated. Oh my God, what was she thinking? She's not even answering my calls now. Where is she? She's not here, Samuel. She took the money and said she was going on her dream vacation, I explained. Do you know where that is? You realize Eric will be pressing charges, right? Yes, I know exactly where she went. I'm sorry, Susan. I should have believed you from the start. I was so blinded by my mom's manipulation that I scolded you unjustly. Don't worry. I'll tell Eric exactly where she is. She needs to face the consequences of her actions. As we continued our conversation, we revisited past issues with Elizabeth. Samuel repeatedly apologized for not taking my concerns seriously earlier. With him being away so often, I understood why it was hard for him to grasp the situation fully without being present. Nevertheless, I harbored some resentment for his initial lack of support. Samuel recognized how serious the situation had become and booked a flight the next day to come and assist in resolving the matter. It took less than an hour for Elizabeth to call me back, her tone drastically altered from before. Gone was her usual bravado. This time she was in tears and sounded genuinely priced. "Susan, why are the police calling me about the money? They're asking me to come down to the police station." I responded firmly, "I told you, Elizabeth, my brother is a police officer and he takes theft very seriously. Unfortunately for you, it was his money you decided to steal. Since you refused to return it, he contacted his superiors to press charges. They're saying they will arrest you if you don't show up. I know you're far away and can't come home." Elizabeth's desperation was palpable. "I don't even have all the money now. I've already spent it to book hotels and activities in various locations." "Well, in that case, Elizabeth, you will be arrested and sent to jail," I concluded. The gravity of her choices was finally catching up with her, and it was clear she would have to face the legal consequences for her actions. Before the situation escalated further, I calmly addressed Elizabeth. "You should have considered the consequences of stealing money before you decided to take it." Frustrated and desperate, Elizabeth retorted, "I didn't steal any money. You can't prove anything. You know what? I'll tell everyone that you're setting me up." "I can prove it," I responded. "I have security cameras in my bedroom. Everyone can see you taking money from my closet." Infuriated, Elizabeth accused me of deceit. "You're too clever for your good. You've tricked and spied on me. I'll tell Samuel. He'll protect me from the police and teach you a lesson." "There's no use in dragging Samuel into this," I replied calmly. "He already knows everything. He's seen the video evidence, and he's heard the recordings of our calls where you admitted to taking money from me. Trust me, we will be pressing charges. The police are already aware of your location." Elizabeth's frustration turned to anger, and she began to hurl insults at me, which I recorded to document the verbal abuse. I then ended the call. With the help of cell tower tracking and Samuel's cooperation, the police were able to locate Elizabeth. They arrested her, but could only recover $34,000. The rest had already been spent on hotels, luxury bags, jewelry, and designer clothes. Elizabeth was brought back to our city with the assistance of the local police department where she was found. She spent the night in a holding cell and was transferred to our local station the following day. Samuel flew in from Los Angeles to resolve the situation. At the police station, both of us met with Eric and saw Elizabeth. Samuel apologized to Eric. "I'm so sorry, Eric. I can't believe my mom would do this. If I had known, I would have intervened sooner. You and Susan have lost so much because of me." Eric reassured him, "You don't have to apologize, Samuel. Elizabeth is responsible for her actions, not you. You were just looking out for your mom. You didn't know what she was capable of." Samuel was resolute, though. "I get that I love my mom, but she's gone too far this time. She needs to face the consequences. Unfortunately, I will not ask you to drop the charges." "I understand, Eric. I won't try to stop you. I've supported Mom too much already. This time it's different. I won't help her with bail money, lawyers, nothing. Susan and I will also press charges for the money she took from us." This decisive stance marked a significant turning point as Samuel acknowledged the gravity of his mother's actions and supported taking legal steps to address the wrongdoing. After our meeting, the three of us, Samuel, Eric, and I, talked about the legal consequences for Elizabeth. It appeared likely that she would face jail time. We also discussed liquidating her remaining assets and tapping into her savings to compensate Eric for his losses. Once we had sorted through these details, Samuel and I went to visit Elizabeth in jail. Upon seeing us, Elizabeth immediately burst into tears and turned to Samuel. "Son, see what your witch wife has done to me. I've been in jail for 3 days now.
How can you allow her to put me in jail? You need to bail me out. Mom, Susan hasn't done anything wrong. You're the one who stole from us. I can't believe you still expect me to bail you out, Samuel responded firmly. I'm your mother, Samuel. How can you not help me? This is your responsibility. I'm here because Susan couldn't stand me. You've given us so much, but I have so little. I deserve to have some fun money, too. You have to see my side as well, Elizabeth pleaded. Samuel stood his ground. Mom, I took care of you and provided everything you needed. Yet you went behind my back and stole from my wife. No matter what you believe, that money was hers alone. You committed a crime and will be punished for it. Yes, you're my mom, but I won't support criminal actions. From today, you are on your own. Samuel spoke so assertively that I didn't need to say anything. For the first time, I saw clearly that Samuel would stand up for me, even against his mother. Elizabeth was stunned by Samuel's resolve. She sobbed and begged him for forgiveness. She turned to me, pleading for me to sway Samuel's decision, but I simply walked out with him, resolved and united. As months passed, our lives significantly improved. Samuel transferred back home to ensure we could be together, recognizing the importance of our unity. Elizabeth was eventually taken to court and found guilty, which led to her being sentenced to 8 months in jail due to it being her second offense. Despite her protests, she couldn't change the outcome. Samuel decided not to visit her in prison and instructed her not to contact us again. Eric received his money back and finally made the down payment on his dream house. As for me, my relationship with Samuel was stronger than ever. The likelihood of facing issues with a thieving mother-in-law again seemed very slim. Our household was peaceful once more, free from deceit and betrayal.